Hello, my Juicy Co-Creators. Lilu here on the Juicy Living Tour. Today, I'm in Ojai, beautiful California with Katie. Hello.
Hello. Such a pleasure to be with you.
Same for me, because in all the interviews that I did with Gay Hendricks, your name always come up, of course, and there's this wonderful Katie, and this is delicious celebration of life, and Katie is wonderful. I love our house. I love the colors that she put. He's totally in love, my goodness. You're having this beautiful, juicy relationship, don't you?
We really are, and we have been for over 33 years now, and it just keeps getting better, which is amazing.
Yeah, you're in the field of, you're a pioneer yourself of the body mind, and
Yes.
You're all about the creative arts and the transformation. And what brought Gay into, I mean, how he showed up just one day, just like that? Was that a heart desire? Were you in your process already of learning how all of this universe works out, or how did it happen?
Yes. Well, I was actually getting my doctorate at the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology in Palo Alto, and Gay came to give a workshop that weekend, and I just knew I had to be there. I'd been a dance movement therapist. I have now for 40 years, and so I've been very interested in the language of the body and getting in touch with heart-centered rather than head-centered learning, and that had been my passion for many years. And so I knew that Gay really worked with energy and body as well as philosophy and transformation. So I was very excited to meet him, and that's where we first encountered each other. We had an across a crowded room kind of meeting where we really recognized each other, and that was how we really first got together, was energetically. We really recognized that we both had a passion for creating a kind of life that was based in joy and flow and really being in touch rather than just being a head walking around on a stick.
Were you before that committed to this kind of relationship, or it kind of just happened to you?
Oh, we totally created our relationship together. We in fact, we had not seen, we knew of one couple who had a great relationship and then they got divorced. And so we basically hadn't seen anything growing up or anything in the culture that resembled the kind of relationship that we wanted. And so we just decided to make it up. That's what we really did during the first few years of our relationship. Is first we committed to it. We said, here's what we want. And then we just started practicing, creating it.
What are some of the most transformational moments that you had, or tools that you used to be able to go through those tougher patches?
Well, I'd say the first one was really commitment, really understanding the power of commitment, that it's not a moral obligation or a duty, and it's also not a thing. It's a series of actions that take you toward what you really want. So committing is really gathering yourself and getting yourself in, and then recommitting is really the key. What we found was that what we would do is that slip off something we decided we wanted to do, and then there would be the beating ourselves up and feeling critical. And what I found is that the more quickly I simply recommitted. For example, with all of our commitments or processes that people can actually do, and one of them that was really important for me was revealing instead of concealing. So I came from a long line of concealers, people who just wouldn't say anything because it wasn't nice or wasn't polite. So I had a lot of background in kind of, but not really saying, not being real. So as I was learning how to do that, I would first go, I messed up again. And then when I realized, I can simply recommit, and then I would reveal something, and then I could sort of get right back in the game again. And it gave me so much confidence in being able to move toward what I really wanted and still make mistakes, that making mistakes is really part of learning, and it's simply a chance to recommit. So that was one that was really, really powerful. And I think another one that was really powerful is realizing that I have no control over anything about Gay, really. I don't have any control over his feelings. And early on, that was really a problem because Gay had all these groupies and people who thought he was just so wonderful. And who is this woman who's coming in and is taking him away? And there'd be all of this action going on in workshops and seminars. And when I realized that What I have control over is being open to giving and receiving love with him, appreciating, focusing on my creativity and really doing what lit me up. But I didn't have any control over him and anything about him. That made a huge difference, because then that allowed us to drop the control struggles about, I didn't like the way you talked to her, or it really went a long way to eliminating jealousy. And because if I saw something that I thought another woman had that I didn't, I would do something we call friendly cannibalism, where I would just go, I like the way she moves, or I like the way she responds to people. How could I learn how to do that? And I would just go ahead and take that on and learn how to incorporate that into me. And so it became another learning opportunity.
So by being really yourself and working on your frightened parts, then really things shifted for him too, I guess.
Absolutely, because when anybody in a relationship shifts, it shifts the whole relationship. So we learn to use the relationship as a mirror, rather than saying you're too critical. I go, how is it that I keep hearing everything you're saying is criticism? And those were amazing opening moments like that with criticism. I came home one day from getting my hair cut, and I walked in the door. Gay didn't know I had gone out, and he said, "Oh, you got your hair cut?" And I went, "Oh, what's wrong?" I immediately had heard him as criticizing me, and I thought, geez, where did that come from? And it gave me an opportunity to see where I had learned that I came from a very, very critical family. And so the only kinds of interactions that I had, basically, especially with my dad, were about how I could have done a little bit better, even though I only got one B all the way through junior high and high school. That was the thing he focused on. Oh, what about this B? So, it began to be a learning process rather than trying to be perfect and trying to control things. And I'd say that's probably one of the biggest things that we hold now for people, is that if you see your relationship as an opportunity for discovering and learning, then you can have a rich, renewed relationship through your whole life, where it really just keeps getting better, because there's no place to arrive. There's just this deepening of connection and deepening of exploration, which is really just about the juiciest thing on the planet, I think.
And how did you react when Gay was really having those really authentic moments and telling you, as I spoke with him earlier in another interview, like really when he was telling you, well, I have maybe this desire for this woman, or there's this thing that come up, and you had this commitment and this agreement to speak about it. How did that make you feel? How did it work out?
Well, I actually wrote a whole book about it. Yeah. We call it The Conscious Heart, where we really talked about how we dealt with one time right after Gay was 50, when he got attracted to a much younger woman, much younger than me at that time, and him. And how we dealt with that was really by practicing everything that we tell everybody else to do, particularly feeling, sharing what each of us was feeling. But it was also a great time for me to really strip away anything that wasn't truly me. All of the things that I had learned about how you're supposed to get a man and how you're supposed to keep a man and all that stuff. And I also had a kind of a devoted persona where I just thought he was just so wonderful, but it kind of made me less. And so really owning my own power, what I wanted to contribute, what I was most excited about. And the more I put my attention on that, truly, I totally stopped being threatened by this other woman, because I was really looking at, who am I? Who do I want to be? What do I want to evolve and transform the world with? And as I did that, I, of course, got much more attractive. And it didn't really matter to me as much, because I really had a sense of, well, if that's really what you want to do, that's what you should do. And so I stopped trying to hold on to him, or,
So you were committed, and you are committed, but at the same time you allow the other person just to be who they are.
Well, commitment is it's a living entity. It's not a thing. And so in the action of communicating authentically, and particularly noticing these treasures that come up from inside, of what this reminds me of from the past, but also the energy of relationship itself. If I'm not spending all of my time protecting myself or trying to control the other person, there's this rich feeling and collaboration that happens between partners, and that gets richer and juicier, and it evolves more. We evolve projects and trainings and different processes with people that have really made a huge difference in the world. And so you get to spend most of your time on creativity rather than on power struggles and conflict. And most people think they have to solve the conflicts before they can put their attention on the good stuff. I have to get perfect before I can have a good time. And what we found is that if we put our attention on what we really want and supporting each other and what each of us really wanted, that if we ran into something, a little conflict along there was more like a speed bump rather than a wall. It would just be something that needed to be handled along the way to what we really wanted. And so now, gosh, it's been at least 15 years since we've had any criticism, any power struggles, any conflict. And that's an organic process. It wasn't just that we stopped, we said we're not going to do that. We just noticed it dropped out.
The drama is just no longer there.
Well, the drama is really, it's so limited. There are only a certain number of things you can do with drama. It's really like, or you're pointing the finger, or somebody comes in to say, oh, let's buy a major appliance. So you either go victim or villain, or you make a hero move, which is basically a distraction from what's going on. Most people in relationships, not just romantic relationships, but business relationships, friendships, and family relationships, they get caught in what we call the triangle, which is seeing yourself as a victim. Oh, he's being so mean to me. Or the villain who's responsible for this mess. Or the rescuer, the hero. And those all have body components that you get collapsed when you're the victim. You get sort of inflated and up in your body like a gorilla when you're the villain. But when you're the hero, you put your cape on and you kind of go dun da da, off to take care of other people. And they're all issues of responsibility where you're not really seeing yourself and the other person as whole. You get into this up-down, push-pull, which consumes a huge amount of energy in relationships. And when you're not doing that, you have an enormous amount of free time. I mean, it's really amazing how much free time and enjoyment and creativity you get when you're not on that particular ride.
To dance.
And time to dance, which is one of our favorite things to do. And your whole relationship actually becomes a dance. It becomes a dance of closeness and union, and it becomes a dance of individuation where each of you are creating what you want to be creating in the world, and then you bring that back to the relationship, and that dance just continues, and it involves other people, it spreads out into the community, and so it has a very positive impact on other people as well.
Tell us about, to end this conversation, about the latest thing you're working on, or book, or I know that Gay went into the nonfiction and he's really thrilled about that. Yeah. What is your creativity? Where is it at right now?
Well, there are two things I'm really, really excited about right now. One is that the whole world of movement is really becoming much more of a science as well as an art in the world. And people are realizing that movement itself is the medium in which carries our aliveness and our contact and our thinking, and that the more we focus on opening up ourselves as moving, learning beings, the more fun we have in life and the more creative we are. So I have many, many movement projects that I'm working on, including one that I've almost completed, which is called Moving Out of the Box, which are 3 to 5 minute videos that are delivered once a week for an entire year that allow you to access and expand your creativity through very simple movement processes. So I've been passionate about movement for for many, many years, many decades actually. And so seeing it coming in more into the mainstream is really, really exciting. And creating that and really orienting that to what we also call body intelligence. We have now relationship intelligence, many different kinds of ways that people explore their intellectual intelligence, but we haven't really given as much attention to our body intelligence and how that can really inform us to solve problems and create deeper partnership. And also, since our society is becoming much more fluid now, and the whole hierarchy, like was represented by General Motors in our country, which is like a family business where you got into the business and you were just taken care of through your whole life, that's all gone. So how are we going to form partnerships? How are we going to create things in the world? How are we going to unform those partnerships and then kind of go back into the pool of creativity and then form new ventures? I think that's all going to happen as people really understand energy and the language of the body and what they're really drawn to organically. So those are some of the things I'm interested in, and using our three central principles. We have a foundation we've had for many years called the Foundation for Conscious Living. It's our nonprofit. And the mission of our foundation is to promote authenticity, conscious responsibility, and appreciation in partnership, in community, in politics, and in society. So we're making videos so that people can actually have an experience. They can go to our website and have an experience of appreciation, because people say, oh yeah, I appreciate you. It's like, what is that? How would I know? And the actual coming into being in your body. We have a very serious problem on the planet that I think is really run by fear. So my other really big passion now, I've created something called Fear Melters, where I help people identify their fear signature. So whether they fight or freeze or flee or faint, and then how to use simple movements to actually melt that so that they can be present. Because when I'm in fear, everything looks threatening. But when I'm actually present in myself, I can actually respond to what's going on, much more actively and much more creatively.
In a way more gracious way.
In a way more gracious way, rather than, or the ways that fear makes us react in that very primal way. And so I think that one of the biggest challenges on the planet is to come out of the fear trance, which is running it's running our country right now. So I think we're just beginning to wake up from that.
Do you also have conversation with your body? Do you speak to it?
Oh yeah, I speak to my body. Well, I've always spoken to my body, but I speak to my body more energetically and with images than with words. And people, there are many different ways to speak to your body, but the most important thing is to listen to your body, not to speak to your body. Because most of the time we're going, okay, hey body, shape up. Just do what I tell you to do and don't talk back to me. And rather than listening like, oh gosh, I feel a little pain in my shoulder. I wonder what the message is there. So I think it's most important for people to learn how to listen. And then your body will speak to you.
Be in this conversation, in a relationship.
You are first in a relationship with yourself. And since you're first in a relationship with yourself, and the very first thing that happens to you that lets you know you're alive is movement. And the very last thing that happens is movement. And you're in relationship your whole life. People think, well, I'm alone. Well, you're not. From the moment of conception till the moment of death, you are in relationship. First with yourself, and then with your family, and then with society. But you're also in relationship with the cosmos and what's in me that's wanting to be birthed and wanting to be expressed. And it makes for a very rich life when you start noticing and start expressing what's real for you, and then other people get interested, and then you've got a collaboration going, and it can be really a sense of discovery rather than, oh, I've got to go to my job and do this thing I hate to do.
This is so old paradigm.
Oh, it's very old paradigm, and I think it's glued down by fear. Because people, this worked, so I'm going to keep doing this because I know it worked. And And then when you open up and find that, whoa, it can actually be easy. You know, I can feel flow, and flow is so much more comfortable than rigid. Yeah, so there are all kinds of body messages and body learning that I think really go on lifelong.
Beautiful. Well, I so appreciate this conversation with you. I'm so happy we got to do this after all these conversations on Skype or, you know, those interviews with Gay, and he speaks so highly of you. And it's so delicious to be able to capture that for everybody around the world watching. And I'm so delighted to have shared with you this delicious co-creation here that just happened in the moment spontaneously. How beautiful. Thank you.
Well, thank you. My pleasure.
Much love, my delicious co-creators. Many blessings. Please share wildly this video. Much love. Bye-bye.